Good night, everyone. You know, I told Dominic, I said, boss, you're getting me to come out tonight. And Darren and the Kings are performing. Wow. But I mean, I'm so happy to see that Guyana's all out for 138. So I think we have to score 138 for 8 in the 20 over. So look, I expect the same way I know that we're going to win the next election, I expect the Kings to win tonight. You know, Spider, sometimes you let things slip. I'm trying to remember when we had the budget. You all remember? And the promise that this was supposed to be the year of? Oh, you all remember? Yeah. The year of infrastructure. I don't even have to say anything more. But that is what tells the story of the Labour Party. Talk. Always have a big thing to do. Right? Propaganda. The best at this, the best at that. And by the time you turn around, nothing. We don't have to go too far back in history, though. You remember? Better days. Jobs. Right? 100 million. And all we ever get is cost overruns and bobble. All the time. But I have to say that for those people who were not fooled by labor, that not even them would have expected things to be as bad as they are today. It is no exaggeration to say that we are in trouble. We all know it. We can all see it. Don't take St. Lucians for fools. Sometimes I hear people say, oh, the St. Lucians were fooled. St. Lucians were not fooled. Some St. Lucians were greedy. And they saw how good things were going and thought that we could give more. Instead of the Labour Party recognizing what we had been achieving in the 5 years, and when they talk about unity in a time of difficulty, what would be more difficult than COVID? You forget, we formed NEMAC. No decision for COVID was made without a meeting with NEMAC. And not an ordinary meeting, you know. Not where people sit down on their hands and just listen. Changes were made right there. And the Attorney General's office was taking notes. And by that evening, when the SI came out, reflected the decisions that were being made at the NEMAC. When we realized that we were alone and we had to put together a social and economic plan for recovery of this country, we invited the opposition to come and sit at the table with us. They came to the first meeting. They never came back again. I never forget the first NEMAC meeting. I don't know if you remember it, Dominic. And Sean Edwards came to represent the Prime Minister. And after he heard the presentation by the CMO and the group of people there, He said, world class. They never sent him back again. But instead of appreciating what we were achieving, they went on a propaganda game to convince people that the money that we were using to fix up the roads was the money that the World Bank and the IMF gave us. That's not true. That money went to pay the salaries of the civil servants. And don't forget, I asked the civil servants to be part of the recovery and to forgo part of their salary for 1 year. A part. Not to give it to us, to lend it to the people of St. Lucia. And we were willing to pay an interest rate, I think it was 4.5%, and if my memory serves me correct, tax-free. They said no. Did I get vexed? Did United Workers' Party get vexed and decide they're going to be revenge on people? We came up and we said, okay, we'll figure out a different way. And we went to 3 of the largest construction companies, and one of them was Renault, and asked them to do DFCs, design, finance, construct. They design it, they finance it, they construct it, but always through the government. And we asked them to give us a loan for 5 years with a moratorium of 2 years. A moratorium means that we don't start paying back the principal for 2 years. And we figured that by that time, the economy would be coming back and we'd be in a better position. But Labour Party went out and said that we did that to put money in our pockets. But the thousands of people that were employed building roads, building drains, everything that was going on in this country, that ching, ching, ching was not going into Alan Chastanet's or United Workers' Party. It went into their pocket. Guy Joseph is a hero. His ministry worked hours with the World Bank to make sure that all of the loans that we had there, we said to them we could not bring foreign contractors to St. Lucia. Bring down the size of the contract small enough so that the work can go to the St. Lucians and we can put the country back to work right away. They did it, whether it was for Victoria Hospital, for all the drains that were done around the country. Everywhere we were putting people to work. But the Labour Party went and said to everybody that we did that to help ourselves. When we knew that people were struggling and we knew the farmers were struggling, we put a program that we bought the produce from the farmers. We went to the hotels that were closed and opened up the kitchens to cook food and bring it to the people, to their homes. All of that to do what? Create jobs and to help the vulnerable people in our country. When people don't agree with United Workers' Party, we don't get vexed. We don't get angry. We find alternative ways to achieve the same thing that we were going to do. I feel sorry for the young men in Vieux Fort who were so excited about having a horse racing track. And to be able to have a career, a professional career, in something that they loved. I was there when the last 10 of them left that were living at DSH because they loved their horses so much. And to see the horses go and to see the whole thing close down. And the Labour Party would still want to convince people that there was something wrong with what the project was doing. A Labour Party wants to still convince us that moving back into the old building of St. Jude's instead of the modern building is progress. It's too late. All of us concede for ourselves. It was more than chemical and more than paint. The building was Pabo. Just like the prime minister we have, Pabo. $265 million? And we listen to that, and we say and we do nothing? Guy said it. Who do you think is going to repay that loan? I want to put it in perspective. The new building, plus all the nonsense they did before, came to $260 million. Okay? You're going to now do a halls of justice. I want us to understand this. Those of us who drive up north and see the old Daher Mall, I think they call it the Orange Crescent building. That building is 100,000 square feet. The 3 floors. It's like 33,000 square feet per floor. So I want you to pick up that building, okay? And put it now in Constitution Park. And add one more floor. That is the size of the halls of justice they put in there. Pardon. It cannot be. How does that make sense? And the building is going to cost, with the interest, 300 million EC dollars for a halls of justice. And we were building a police headquarters and the courts, 6 courts, for half that price. In fact, less than half the price. And it was going to be where the police headquarters is now. And you had the old Farron's Dairy entrance. You had the entrance by Brazil Street. And then you had the entrance and exit by by where Coca-Cola factory is. Ideal place. You don't even put it out to bid. We're going to wait for them to pile and for the damage to be done to our church. And if the Catholic Church does not want to speak for itself out loud, we will speak for them. No! Sapabo! We came to talk about crime. And that's why I love, and I tell you, I don't want my wife to get jealous, but every time I go into my constituency, I fall more and more in love with Miku South. Honestly. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful constituency. And the people are so incredible. And I had an opportunity of sitting down with about 4 or 5 women. And they gave me a lesson. Yeah? And what they said was so right. Women in this country, which we know are the bosses, right? All us men know. We know who's in charge, right? The good thing is that we have very strong women, and they're very kind to their men. And it's only in the privacy of our room they remind us that they're the boss, right? But it reminded me that who is it that goes out to buy the groceries and run the household? Women. So who do you think is feeling the cost of living the most? And the stories of the difficult choices that they were having to make, of the food that they had to buy to keep the kids happy, keep their husband happy. How difficult it was because the money was not getting bigger. In fact, the money in their minds, they said, is getting smaller. But the prices are getting bigger. And every time they think it's going to stop, it only gets worse. And particularly as the kids grow a little bit older, the things they want to do is more. And how difficult it is to try to explain to them that they don't want them to go out. And they didn't have money to send them to go out. And certainly how the conversation started was how difficult going back to school was this year for them. It was very, 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 very difficult. Yeah? And they, like a lot of other people, have had to say, I leave it to the Lord. Because I've done everything that I can do, and I'm only hoping that somebody from abroad or something happens to put a little extra money my way, that I can tell my child, it came late, but it came. Women have a better appreciation for the need for proper health. They go to the doctor not because they're weaker, but it's because they are different. They go to the doctor a lot more than men do. So they know what's happening at the healthcare centers, and sadly they know what's going on at the hospitals. And it really is paining them. They don't want to fall sick. They don't want their children to fall sick. They don't want their relatives to fall sick. And it is creating anxiety to know how bad our healthcare system was. And the one I probably should have known more, but they really gave me the message that when they see these young people dying, even though that those are not directly their children, but as mothers, the relationship that they have with their own children forces and compels them to feel that pain more. And they speak of other mothers that they know where their son or relative was killed, and every single time there's another murder, it's like they relive it again. And I know, I looked at these women and I applauded them because they were so strong, because I think that just one thing by itself may cause some people to break. And here it is, they're facing crime, unprecedented, healthcare, unprecedented, and cost of living, unprecedented. And they're having to manage all of those things. So I want to say not only to the women in my own constituency, but I want to say to all the women in St. Lucia, United Workers' Party feels you, we hear you, and the reason why I wrote the letter that I did to the Prime Minister demanding now, not asking anymore, but demanding that the fuel prices come down, demand that the 2.5% tax comes off, is for you. Is for you. And I want all of you to stay strong and know that you're not alone and you're not suffering in vain, but unite as Workers' Party. The men and women will stand by your side. And I'm hoping that it does not come after November 1st that we have to protest. But if we have to protest, we are going to protest with an energy that the Labour Party has never seen before. I had an opportunity also this weekend. I don't know what happened, and two very good friends of mine, well, one I did not know before and one I've known for a very long time, came to get some advice. And I had the opportunity of going back to Kayak on the Bay, and I want to say hello to the people there, a wonderful place. And we were trying to get the tour going so more people could go there. But I went to Mamaku Gardens, and I drove all the way to the back of Mamaku Gardens. In fact, in driving on that road, which is in very deplorable condition, I earned even a greater respect for Sir John. Because wherever you drive in this country is roads. You know? Roads, 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 roads. And a weight was lifted off my back because I remembered how much they criticized Sir John for the infrastructure in this country. But you see, that was always the difference between Sir John, United Workers' Party, and the Labour Party. Sir John believed in the infrastructure of water and roads and sewage and electricity and airports and seaports to expand the economic capacity of the country so that St. Lucians could earn a living to take care of themselves. Teach a man to fish instead of giving a man a fish. And there are many young people who would have never seen those roads when they were at their fullest. And I was driving on this road and all these little banana sheds. So you can imagine in the real day what was happening. Everybody was busy on their farm. That little shed was full of people. People felt productive. People felt like they were making a contribution. They felt like living was worth it. And that they had money in their pocket. Who doesn't forget the days of coming into Castries and coming all the way down the Mourne and seeing all of the little trucks, the far vehicles, piled up with bananas and young kids on the back and everybody and all the people making money on the side who were selling drinks and selling food, right? And everybody knew how well things were because of how many bananas were being exported. And more roads were being built and more irrigation was being provided and more communities were being developed. Because the lands in St. Lucia were productive and the people of St. Lucia were working the lands. And they were going from being nothing, working on a plantation for a salary, all of a sudden to say, I own my own farm. I'm making my own money. I have my own van because the van did not just carry bananas. The van carried the kids to school. It took the missus out on Sunday to go to church. We forget. But I bring that story up to understand that when we were developing village tourism, that is the model that we were using. We know how difficult it is for bananas to succeed today because of the competition. And we have to make the transition. And I'm so glad that Guy Joseph talked about it, that all people are the same. Oh, Chastanet, tourism, 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 tourism. But in it, they're psychologically telling you that I prefer the big man. No, I know that we need the big man in order to allow the little man to succeed. But I know, not only from my own constituency, but going around this entire country, that St. Lucians are different than most other West Indians. St. Lucians want to work for themselves. That's what they want. Don't mind a little vendor. It's a small place, but guess what? It is her stall, her business. She can decide how many hours that she wants to work. And when she makes the money, she knows how much money she made. So village tourism was doing and was about to do exactly what Sir John did for the bananas. the road in Saltibus, it wasn't just because the people in Saltibus needed a good road. It's because we see Airbnbs being expanded. And so all those persons that used to be in the agricultural sector in Saltibus now have to find something else to do. And the road now made it possible for those little businesses to thrive. And I remember there was a lady, she's a very famous lady, St. Lucian. And she used to love it because her guests came, and instead of going to restaurants around the place, she organized for them to go and eat at a different person's home every different night. Tourists loved it. They love it. We don't even appreciate how beautiful of a people we are. We sometimes forget how beautiful St. Lucia is. And sitting in a backyard underneath a breadfruit tree, roasting breadfruit. You think you can do that in Brooklyn? The fireman will come and arrest you one time. We have a life here that's great, but it's for us to develop that life and to improve that life. So village tourism wasn't just the roads, it was the water and the electricity, and it was fixing up our villages to make it easier for people to do their business. It's to provide the accounting system, to provide the platform for marketing. That's no different than what Sir John did. You had Winera that was producing the boxes. You had Windman that was doing the research. You had Geese that was carrying the boats. You had Windfresh that was ripening the bananas over there. We had the research being done. Incentives for you to get your far vehicle. An agriculture place to go and buy all of your equipment and get credit. The development bank to help you. It didn't happen by accident. And it's when Labour Party decided that in order to win the election, they had to destroy the banana sector. And they used the oldest trick in the world. Greed. Let's call it what it is. Greed. And said Sir John was not giving you enough. So John was taken away. You could get a better price. But nobody was calculating in their mind how much money the roads cost. Nobody was calculating the subsidy on the fertilizer. Nobody was calculating how much the government was losing and having to let the cars come in duty-free. Nobody was taking into consideration the agricultural stations that were giving credit and the banana farmers who were not paying back the money. Who paid that bill? But the people were promised that if you did it yourself, you would make more money. That's what labor does. They play on our weakness. And the moment things get good, we get weak. But don't get vexed. That's sadly who we are. That's why I always tell the story of Adam and Eve. Where were they? The Garden of Eden. And a snake came and told them, eat this, and your life is going to get better. Doesn't the Bible tell you that they had everything? They had everything. They had it so good they walked around naked. Yes? And even Adam and Eve were convinced. So we must understand that about ourselves. We must confront that about ourselves. And accept that about ourselves. And we must become stronger for it. That's why I said before the elections, it wasn't like I don't want to say I'm a prophet. I said to the people in my party that the Labour Party was planting the seeds of doubt. That's what that is. I see the same thing taking place now with the Citizenship by Investment program. And I know that St. Lucians, and some of them don't want to know. And rather them say that. But what do they tell you instead? I don't understand. I'm hearing so many different stories. I don't know. My fellow St. Lucians, this is not a complicated issue. What the government of St. Lucia is selling is our citizenship. So it's real money. And we don't feel it because many of the people they're selling our citizenship to are not coming to St. Lucia. So it's invisible. So we don't feel the immediate impact. Okay, what's the big deal? But the big deal is if the numbers are right, and I want to put this correct, because when people, Guy, you hit the nail on the head. When people say both sides are the same, but you all did it, right? Oh, you all did it. Put it in perspective. In the 5 years that United Workers' Party was in government, we issued 850 citizenships. You listening to me? In 5 years, 850. Right now, the numbers are suggesting that in 2.5 years, the Labour Party is going to issue 50,000 citizenships. So how can it be the same? And I'm saying to you, as your former Prime Minister, that we struggled to do all the due diligence in 3 or 4 months. And we were struggling in printing the passports. So imagine 50,000. So that's 50,000 people that if tomorrow something happens in their country, they have the authority to pack up their bags and move to St. Lucia and to be and have all the rights, including voting, like all St. Lucians. So you may not feel it today, but it's a debt that we have. It's an obligation that we have. And this is serious. Now, what makes this thing so egregious? Egregious means so vexing, so wrong. Is that many people refer to citizenship as our patrimony. It's ours. So how can a government come in and sell these things and do contracts and not tell us anything? We don't know how many files. We don't know how many have been approved. We don't know how much money is there. We know nothing. Well, when people tell you, I don't understand, I don't know what is the difficulty in understanding so far what I'm saying. Because by the law, they're supposed to tell us. By the law, the CIP unit was supposed to produce an annual report. It has not produced an annual report for 3 years, and we say nothing. The law says it's supposed to be sold for $100,000, and yet we don't know. There's supposed to be an escrow account. It's our escrow account. When the minister comes and says, oh, the money doesn't belong to us, that's a lie. That's not true. We are letting them use the money to build a hotel in St. Lucia. We must expect we're going to get value for our money. It cannot be that it costs 3 times the amount of money to build a hotel, because you have to ask yourself, where's the rest of the money going? You have an obligation to ask that question. Anybody who belittles you and denies you to know that information, they themselves are corrupt. They're lying to you. So this latest revelation that the government entered into an agreement with a company called BMAX. The first time that St. Lucians were told about BMAX was in September of this year. Up until now, we never knew the company existed. We knew nothing. And we found out about it because they put out a statute instrument, and they made the statute instrument retroactive to January. And up to now, they cannot explain to us why. And then on Monday of this past week, a story came out to say that the directors, the owners of BMAX, were arrested in Montenegro. They were arrested in February. And they showed a video of them in the handcuffs going up. And they spent up until April in prison. And then they were released on bond for $1.2 million. And they're expected to come back and report every week as to what's going on. Now, this company, according to the SI, is going to operate just like Galaxy. The government of St. Lucia is going to give them thousands of passports to sell and collect all the money. I'm going to repeat that again. The government of St. Lucia has made them a developer, and as such, they have permission to sell thousands of passports and to collect the money. We don't know how many thousands. We don't know how much the housing project is going to cost. We know nothing, but what we do know is that the prosecutor in Montenegro, and Montenegro is Eastern Europe, right next to Russia, said that BMAX is a criminal organization. And when they asked the minister, he said, well, I only just saw it today. I don't know. I'm going to have to go after. That's on Monday. Monday. And all of his zelevs, let's use the language you know. We all have zelevs. His zelevs are out there saying, oh, the guy is only a director, he's not a shareholder. That's what you think we need to hear? We need to hear that the government has terminated the relationship with BMAX and to give us a report as to how many passports they have sold and that those passports should be canceled immediately. How you can be in St. Lucia and don't want to go after young people who you are forcing into a life of crime and you want to hold them accountable, and meanwhile you are doing business with a criminal organization and you're giving them thousands of passports, no accountability in the money, and we're supposed to sit here quiet and take that? Our country is in trouble because we have a government that is acting like a gang and that is a law by themselves. And when we allow things to happen that undermines our democracy, we are all at fault. Guy made a very simple point. I don't want it to be missed. Damien Greaves is a politician. And he is now going to be the CEO of OKEU. How are you, a known Flambeau, going to feel comfortable going to the hospital? We have the acting Chief Justice of the OECS courts is who? Mario Michel, who is what? A former politician. And we're supposed to have an independence between the courts and the politicians? And we say nothing. We all go in our room and say, boy, that's not a good thing, you know, boy. Oh. That's not good enough. So I'm here to tell all of us tonight that come November 1st, if the price of gas has not gone down below $14, if the 2.5% levy is not taken off the backs of the women of this country, and if we don't see that the CEO of the CIP unit, who has still not accounted to the people of St. Lucia as to what happened in Washington, D.C., and why he's doing what he's doing, and to provide the reports, he must be fired by November 1st. The entire board must be removed. And the minister of CIP must be fired. This man cannot be put near any money. He cannot be given any discretionary decisions or authority, because he has been acting, and his history has been that he's been acting as a fraud. I say that clearly. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Ernest Hilaire is a fraud. What he did with the Range Rover, what he did with the Jafali account, and what he is doing in CIP, he must go. My last message to all of us is, when we think that because of crime that we're in trouble, when we think of the state of health care that we're in trouble, and when we think of the cost of living that we're in trouble, there's another thing that's looming here. The government of St. Lucia is mismanaging the resources of this country. Do not take lightly what has happened with GPH. 440 million, which is almost, 2 billion EC dollars. Don't take it for light, the $80 million that the NLA has got, and there's been no accountability as to where that money has gone, and that the young people of this country, that $800,000 a month has been taken away from them. That's for the next 15 years. $800,000 a month is what that loan is going to cost us. We see what's taking place at St. Jude, the $265 million loan. Over 300 foreign workers working at St. Jude. We see what's taking place with CIP. And millions of dollars are being misplaced. And some of it we may have to pay back. I don't know. I don't know how bad it is. But here's what the problem is with the situation in the Middle East, with the situation in Ukraine, the strike that is on the verge to happen with the stevedores in the East Coast. And that's a serious thing. The stevedores in the East Coast of the United States of America want their wage to be increased by 3 times the amount, right? Which is to catch up with what the West Coast is. So this is a real issue. And they know they have power, because they know that if they go on strike, as big as America is, it will cripple America, far less us. So what I'm saying to us is that since this Labour Party government has come into office, all of the expenses are going up. And because of the plan we left them, there was an immediate increase of revenue to them, but they have done nothing since to make any changes. Look at it for yourself. Agriculture is gone. Manufacturing is not moving. We see more hotels being closed in the last year than we have seen in the last 20 years. People are struggling. Small businesses are beginning to close down in this country. And so the only thing that this government knows how to fix that problem is to increase taxes. And that's where United Workers' Party is different. We came in, we reduced the VAT. And if we had been elected, we would have reduced the VAT again to 10%. But this Labour Party, they don't care about us. The plan that they had was to take care of themselves. They only gave you a story for you to believe that they were putting you first. The only people that come first in the Labour Party are the comrades. That's all. And we've all seen that story, and that's why we don't want to become socialist. We don't want to become communist. We want to believe in what Sir John wanted. We wanted a government that would invest in infrastructure in this country and to make sure that the people could work for themselves and that government was not wasting money. That is what we have to go back to. And Guy is right. The Honorable Guy Joseph. Is your party is not only taking the fight to the Labour Party on the streets now, and we're taking the fight to them in the courts, but we are preparing to fix up the mess that they've created in St. Lucia. Thank you. Let's stay tuned. Let's stay focused. And let's get ready to march against this government.